So today, our final regular topic of our paycheck unit here and things like that, before we start heading to the ever popular taxes next. We're going to hang out there for a while, 'cause there's a lot of those. So even though this says on here that we're looking at Australia, okay, annual leave, holiday pay, let you be paid while taking time off of work. So you're like, oh, so it's vacation pay. Yes, that's another word we probably would use here in the United States more than holiday pay. It probably would be vacation pay. But the concept is going to be similar in some ways. So for instance, full and part-time workers get 4 weeks of annual leave for every 12 months worked. That's about average in a lot of places anymore, that you would get that. So, extra pay given during annual leave. Now, here's where it's different between foreign countries and the United States. In the U.S., some places you'll get the leave, but you won't get paid. Other places, you'll get the leave at full pay. Here, they get the leave, but they get a particular percentage of their pay. What it actually is isn't going to be as big of a deal to us as, can we do the mathematics of it? So, when they do holiday loading, holiday pay, whatever it is, and we're going to be very specific with ours, typically it's going to be that percentage of their pay. This is most accurate to what we're going to see. We're not as much going to deal with that, but we'll get back to that later. So for instance, Kelly's the supervisor. She earns $18.20 an hour, 35-hour week. All you would do, okay, to figure out weekly pay, because you got $18.20 an hour for 35 hours. So $18.20 for 35 hours. That's going to be our regular pay. We've done a ton with regular pay, so this shouldn't be too complex for us. So $637. Now, 4 weeks pay. Again, nothing too complex. Thank you. We multiply the 637 times the 4. Not going too far out of the way here. Okay, so if this was a particular atypical month, Kelly would get $2,548. However, if Kelly wants to go ahead and take this holiday pay, basically what we're going to do, we're just going to deal with the loading. This other regular holiday pay does not happen in the U.S. ever with anything. So, holiday loading would be 2,548 times this 17.5%. But again, we need that as a decimal, divided by 100. So this is the equivalent of like maybe your Christmas bonus, your extra pay that we're kind of working here. So then we would look, and if you were going to do holiday pay, you would just add these two together. So it's basically saying, hey, what do you normally get? Here's your bonus that you get for throughout the year, and we can add them up. So nothing too complex when it comes to that. So you're like, okay, that's kind of weird. The percentage is kind of strange. I tried to look up where they came up with the percentage from, and I couldn't find anything definitive with it. Because it's like normally around here, it's just, that's what it is. So I'm only going to do, hang on one second here. Okay, we're actually going to skip ahead a little bit. Because the second example is kind of doing the exact same thing we did in the first. So we're going to run up here. Sorry, I'm getting way too high on the page here. Up to 77. So it's going to look like it's the same thing, though. Before going on Christmas holiday, Tim received 4 weeks of normal pay plus his 17.5% holiday loading for the 4 weeks. If Tim earns a salary of $81,680, calculate his total pay for the 4-week holiday. Okay, here's the difference. All we're given is Tim's yearly salary. So we're not going to be doing the 17.5% on the full yearly salary. It's only on 4 weeks of pay. So we have to figure out what Tim makes weekly before we can do the other part. How many weeks are there in a year? 52. So, I mean, if they just looked for a month or something like that, I still need to know. So, 15, 70, 77. Per week. But to calculate this holiday pay, that's based off of 4 weeks' pay. So we got down to 1 week. Now to finish it off, we've got to multiply that by 4. 6,283.08. Sorry about my 8 there. Is my 4 weeks of pay. This is what we're going to base our holiday pay off of. So now we can finally get down to the end game, which is, hey, what is 17.5% of that total? So we've got, and I'm going to write this out, because again, you're going to have this to use as a tool when we do our quiz, so I want you to know where the numbers are coming from, because otherwise, they're not very useful. Okay, so this is his holiday loading. This is his bonus. So when he goes to go on his holiday break, his holiday vacation, whatever it is, he's going to get his normal check, 62.83. Oh, no, wait a minute. I got to look at something for a minute. Yep, he received the 4 weeks normal pay. Okay. Wanted to make sure I wasn't paying Tim too much now. I mean, we are forever, still in business here. The big thing, and I hope you've seen that throughout this unit, this more comes down to reading carefully and seeing what you're offering and for how much. So like here, instead of being given weekly pay, I was given yearly pay, and I had to work backwards and then work back up. But it's still just some of that basic manipulating that we're doing, trying to get to that area. So here's kind of how we're going to look at this, how we're going to practice a little, and then bring the regular paycheck stuff as we start our review back up. So just on the next 2 pages, okay? The practice for today is on 79 and 80, just like we've been doing on the others. I'm adding the 3rd page if you're looking for something that has a little more of a challenge to it. Excuse me. So 79 and 80 is the assignment. I think there's 6 problems. Might be 5. Nope, there's only 5. 81's extra credit if you want to give that a try. But again, read carefully to see what the question's specifically asking for. The other part of what I want to do today, besides kind of playing with the holiday pay a little bit, is over on 83. I'm not going to go crazy here, and what you're going to find out is a lot of this is just examples that have been worked through. Hourly pay, hours times the number, you're getting paid. You're like, okay. So for those, You've got two problems to work through, and I think we've done enough with hourly pay times hours worked to figure out that you can probably handle that on your own, okay? Overtime pay. Here's where I want to pause for a minute, because you've seen several different ways this has been done, and I want to make sure we're more standard here. If you're over 40 hours, okay, you're going to get 1.5 or time and a half your regular rate. Okay? If the word double time gets used, typically, but not every time, typically that would be on Sundays and holidays. So if I like work 50 hours, it's 40 regulars and then 10 at time and a half, or if it says something different. So for instance, your hourly wage is 8 1/4. Need to find a better job. What is your gross pay if you work 43 hours in 1 week? Okay, so you have two different things going on here. You got 40 regular hours. You've got 3 overtime hours. So your calculation's going to be a little different for each part. For your regular hours, you do the 40 times 825. It's kind of funny because I just typed in 0 on the calculator and I had 0 money, and I'm like, what the heck? Okay, so my regular is $330. But the OT hours, you take the number of hours, do not put 43, we're not getting overtime for everything, just the ones that are over 40, times my rate, times 1.5. Or if you want, you could do this first and then just multiply it by 3. Okay. What was his gross pay? What is his total pay? Add them up. Okay. So regular again, anything up to 40. Once we hit 40, we're going to time and a half for the hours that are over that. And we're just trying to kind of play through all these things. Again, if you ever would consider being a bookkeeper, a manager, heck, an owner, that's something you're going to keep track of, because that's money that you're dealing with in and out of what your business is. So again, this next part, and we're just going to star a couple of these. Let's do, okay. On this next page, we're just going to do 3. You do not need to do 4. It even's got a breakdown of what you're going to do for each piece, kind of like what we did up above, and there's an example of it there too. It's just some overtime hours in your regular earnings. If you want to do it off to the side instead of doing it in the little blanks, that's fine. Okay, but nothing too complex, nothing too troublesome. Okay, are we almost there, Hardy? Yes, we are. Over on 85, one more flip. I told you this was going to fly through. Okay, salary, this is the amount of money you just get every year. And the nice thing with this, I would star it. If I had a highlighter, I might highlight it. This is going to come in handy once you start getting into breaking this down into pieces. Because once you start looking at these, okay, you earn $700 a week. What's your annual gross earnings? Well, there's 52 weeks in a year. So I just multiply the weeks times what I get, and I get my money. But, okay, you've been offered a job with an annual salary of $60,000. You'll be paid weekly. You take the total, you divide by the number of weeks to see how much you're going to make every week. So the numbers can change back and forth. It just depends on what it is that you're doing. So again, We're going to pick a couple on 86, number 6 and number 7. Again, just to get your brain back in that mode, so when we do the review, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember how I was doing this stuff before, and playing it that way. Last review question. Commission, a percentage or an amount I get for selling stuff. So for instance, we'll play with these examples that are down here. So there's an example worked out up above. If you get your sales, your commission rate, again, divide it by 100, and you're just going to be multiplying. One quick step and you're done. So here, for instance, Sandra would make $7,000 because it didn't talk about her getting a salary on top of it. Okay, Bruce, divided by 100. I'll even put that on here. Multiply your sales times your rate. And he's not making as much as Sandra did. He's only making $75. Hope he's got something else he's got rolling here. Okay, so if it's straight commission, it's literally just multiplying the rate times the sales. Nothing bad. The only other twist that can get thrown at you, we'll leave you those last two there, is finally over on 87, if you are fortunate enough to get a salary as well. That's kind of nice. You're going to take your salary and you're going to add it to whatever your commission part is. So for instance here, I'd do what's in the parentheses first. There's my commission. But now I'm going to add that to the salary that I'm guaranteed. And that number is going to be my gross pay. And again, just a couple to make sure. Because this is one of those with it only being 10 questions that there's not a whole lot of different places I'm going to go. So if you've got the simplified stuff down, it's going to make it much easier. And you're not going to have to go back and do a bunch of corrections trying to get points back. Okay? So again, these last four, just the starred ones. The holiday pay, and I believe my page numbers went out on me. I was right, 79 and 80. And then some of these, and you're good. What I'll do to help here too,